Three, two, one. Hello, 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 and welcome to Worldwide Autism Day. How are you, ladies?
Very well. Good evening, Cass from India. Hi, Minnie. Good evening.
Hi,
This is a very warm welcome from Bangalore, India, to everybody who's watching, and a warm welcome on Health, Wealth, and Beauty.
thank you. Hello, everyone. Today from Noida.
Ah,
So I've traveled today from Bangalore to Noida. So greeting everybody from India, Noida today.
And I traveled from Bangalore to Rome, Italy, maybe 5 days ago. So,
true,
How does
true.
it get any better than this?
how does it get? How does it get? How does it get any better than this? Yes. And
Yes.
such a pleasure to be here at the beginning of April with you, ladies, and was with you at the end of March as well. So,
It is a pleasure too. It is our pleasure too.
pleasure, pleasure, yes. And also your brilliance, magic, health, wealth, and beauty about this month. And I don't know if you want to give us a little what exactly is this month? How long
Yes,
has it been out? Yeah, and what exactly is autism?
absolutely. So, I'm Dr. Shubhra. I'm a psychiatrist, and I have been working at a personal and professional level in this area of autism. Ever since my kid was born, and what I realized over a period of time, we are celebrating World Autism Day today, and this is the Autism Awareness Month. The whole of April we will be celebrating, and interestingly. This month is all about advocating the rights about people on the spectrum, autism spectrum, as we say. And UN has kind of made it one of the seven special, days to be celebrated uh, after passing a resolution. So how does it get better than that? And uh, is autism spectrum, an evolution of the human species is something I have been actually kind of pondering on. So when we talked about autism a few years ago, a few decades ago, it used to be a very morbid kind of a picture, and it would be like a doom spell, like everything basically is now ending. However, the scenario is changing. The diagnosis has become, we can diagnose it very early, uh, as early as 18 months, and even earlier for some people, like when the child is 2 months old. So there is a level of progress that is there, even there at the level of diagnosis, and also there has been a lot of progress as regards the challenges these individuals face to reduce the impairment. Autism is a condition. In medical science, we put it under pervasive developmental disorders. Um, Studies have been going on. When I was getting trained, it was a minimal change disease, so we wouldn't find anything much in the changes in the brain. However, they have found certain areas as we go deeper into research. But at the end of the day, we require individuals to get included in the society. And what are the ways we can, what are the ways, facilities we can offer that they can be included? So that inclusivity somewhere has to come from, the people who do not realize that it's a challenge. When we get aware, only then can the offer be there that, oh, there is something like that exists, what are the options that are available, and all is not in dark. And uh, we have a special guest. I mean, I've known her for the last 7 years, 5 years, 5 6 years. She has been having this challenge which she has really accepted head on, having a son on autism spectrum, and she has left no modality unturned. I have personally known that and gone into the depth. So what I know is she is an expert in autism because of her personal experience, and she has educated herself, to the core in different areas. So it is not just the behavioral therapy like people used to know about autism. There is a whole range of help that is available now. So our idea to have a live, and I know Cass, you had been asking for this live for a very, very long time, even before we had our classes. So what awareness can we invite others to is a question I would like to be in. And in Access, we have a very special name for people on the spectrum and ADD and ADHD and all the neurodivergence, as Gary fondly calls them, X-Men, because they have a superpower somewhere they don't realize. Being different becomes some kind of a challenge or a weakness for them. Or what if they could realize and we could empower each one of them, whoever is willing, to realize that what if that weakness is actually their strength. So these are
Absolutely.
the things we would like to discuss today a little bit, and maybe over the month in few different lives. That what is it that what are the possibilities that are there to offer? And I always, loved and pondered over the question which Gary, sometime like many years back, shared somewhere, that autism is a question no one is willing to be. I still, I'm kind of, grappling with this thing. Somewhere I get it, somewhere I don't. I mean, I will very honestly say that. But uh, it is an invitation for the whole human species that what if this was a part of the evolution? A long time ago my friend, one of my friends actually gave a corollary of autism that when the human evolution was happening, and let's say the chimpanzees, few of the chimpanzees started to walk. So they were walking on 2 feet, and now they could no longer hang on the trees, and they were not using the other limbs. So they were the ones who were made fun of, and over thousands of years, humans started to walk. So that was an evolution at that point of time where they were the neurodivergent. So, what if these kids are actually inviting us to a different possibility? Are we willing to look at that? Is a question. So, I would
Absolutely.
like to welcome and thank you, Cass, for having this, awareness talk, and welcome Mini Devi, and she's joining us from Noida. And please tell us a little bit about yourself. I know she was an engineer by qualification, a software engineer. So when she had her kid and who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2 years, she totally changed the direction of her occupation and started a school for children with special needs called Play Street in Bangalore, which has been running for over a decade now, providing excellent services and different possibilities. It is not a school I know which is just offering the mill of the run conventional kind of things. So welcome to Health, Wealth and Beauty, and over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shubhra, and thank you, Cass, first for inviting me here for a possibility to create a different possibility, and thinking that I'm capable enough to be here on this platform and contribute in some way. So that itself is such a big honor for me. So very heartfelt gratitude for this, right? And as Dr. Shubhra introduced me, that I have a son in the spectrum, and now he's 17 and a half. He was diagnosed pretty early at the age of 2, and that was the turning point in my life. I quit my job after his diagnosis. I was working as a software engineer, and later on, the awareness came in various forms when I started taking my son for his various therapies, and we were really traveling a lot, 80 to 90 kilometers a day, and it was just 2 years. and I was not allowed inside the therapy sessions. And what I could hear was all crying. He was crying, and so that used to break my heart as a parent, that my child is just 2. He travels 1.5 hours, and we go to 3 different places, 3 different corners of Bangalore, and he's sleepy, and I wake him up. Oh, you have a session. And just 2 years old child, I wake him up and give him to someone else in the room, where they do something, and what I can hear from outside is just crying. So again, I am not saying that therapists were doing anything wrong. Please don't take me wrong, or don't take me in that direction. But it was a 2 years old child whose direction of life was completely changed. He was living such a different life from other kids, where other kids at the age of 2.5 were exploring their environment, like being with their parents and other people and peers and learning to play. And that time, my child was like traveling 80 to 90 kilometers a day and being subjected to some environment which was not natural at all in the development of any child. I think that hit me hard at that time. So I just realized that, see, my son's diagnosis has completely changed my life. I quit my job also, and the only thing I'm doing is to take my. I was just driving my child. I was actually just his driver, and that was not the role I was looking forward to be with my child. Then initially, when I came to know, when we like realized that when he was diagnosed with autism, I had no idea about autism. Frankly speaking, for the first time, my first encounter with autism was my son himself. I might have heard about it, but I never saw. I actually saw, yeah, I saw one person, but I didn't know that that person was autistic, right? Because I was also in a different profession, and I had nothing to do with this, right? I was so the only realization came through my own child, and I didn't know the impact of autism at that time. So my thought was at that time that, okay, I will take him from some therapies a year or two, and he will be fine. So it's okay, fine. So I'll quit my job. I'll completely dedicate my 2 years, 3 years to my child, and he will be fine. And again, my life will be on track again. But that didn't happen. That was not that, that was just my illusion. More and more, when I learned about it, then I realized, no, it's not as simple. It's a very complex disorder. It's much deep down what it appears. And then I started seeing my son's challenges, and that's how I think my perspective starts changing. And then I thought that I just don't want to be my child's driver. I want to empower myself, because in few years I realized that it's a lifelong condition. And then, so initially I used to see it as a disability, but when, of course, uh, I also worked on myself to start seeing it more empathetically. So, more than a disability, I also started seeing it as a way of life. And I realized that the way of life of our children is way different than ours. The way they perceive the world is way different than ours. So, I think that was the point for me to empower myself. So then I decided, okay, that as Dr. Shubhra mentioned, that I switched my career. So I think I didn't switch my career immediately my child was diagnosed. I took this decision after I sensed, felt his difficulties and his different way of being. And so then I thought, okay, I should empower myself, and that's how I started um, getting myself educated, one step at a time, like more so one step opened the other step, the second step opened the third, and then it just started like that. And then in the process, Play Street, Specially Able Educate Trust got opened. So I just thought, if I want to bring a change, I have to do something more. So then I opened this school and clinic. So my idea was uh, to bring the services and parent empowerment under one roof, because my own experience was to travel 90 kilometers a day, going to many places. So that was, so entire day was just going into that. So I just thought that is the first thing what I would like to change. So seeing from my life, from my experiences, so what are the things I want to offer to parents? So That was the first thing. Everything should be under one roof. And the second thing I thought should be, the focus should be parent empowerment. So my whole definition for parent empowerment is not to just acquire knowledge. My whole definition of empowerment was not to feel threatened. So if I am not getting a service, or if I am not getting a particular therapist, or I'm in a city where services are not there, I should not feel threatened, because in the end, I as a parent still plays the most important role in my child's life. Right? The relationship between me and my child is always unique, the most unique relationship, and no one can ever replace it. So with that realization, I think that was another opening, door opening for me. So that time, a very popular intervention was there in the market. We call it as applied behavior analysis. So I'm not nothing against it, nothing in favor of it. I'm just mentioning this because it was very popular at that time when my child was very young. So the main mm the main criteria of this intervention was that every action our children they do is considered as a behavior. So it is seen, every action is seen in a very atomic way, and we call them as behaviors, right? And then what we try to do, the whole premise of treatment is try to modify the behavior. So you see everything as a behavior and you try to modify it. So that's why we call it applied behavior analysis. So study the child, study his actions as a behavior, analyze them discreetly. So we call them, and then teach them discreetly. So every single thing is broken down for them, and every single task is taught to them in a very discreet manner, broken down to a level where it cannot be broken down further, and taught it repetitively. So what is this chip? What is this chip? What is this chips? What is this chips? So do it many times till I get 8 out of 10 answers correct. I did not align to this modality. I thought, no, how can every action be a behavior? And the word behavior here is like, seen everything as a negative, having as a negative impact. So it means every action is a behavior and it needs to be changed. So every action a child with autism is making is a behavior and it needs to be changed. That completely broke my heart, because if I think of my child, and if every action of him is seen as a behavior and needs to be changed, then it completely questions my child's existence. I mean, I have not seen a human being on the earth other than other people with autism who are so pure, without having any negative emotion and thought or feeling for others. They're so pure. The purest race, I would say, on the planet Earth right now is people with autism. And we put them in a box saying that every behavior they have needs to be changed. As a parent, it was a big blow to me. And because I really saw the innocence my son was bringing, right? The connection, the purity, the smile, the glow in his face, the sparkle in his eyes, everything was so unique. The only thing he didn't have was his words, was his speech. And yes, he was having a lot of tantrums and meltdowns. So for me, I started seeing it that behavior cannot be changed. There should be a reason for his meltdowns and his tantrums. So I started learning more about it. And as I say that, my relationship with my child and every parent's relationship with their child is so unique and it cannot be replaced. And I started learning about more of that philosophy, that how can my relationship with my child be utilized to help my child more. And then I came across another school of thought called relationship based interventions. So, where you do not see the child as a sum of behaviors, rather, you see their behavior as communication. So, whatever their behaviors is, whatever their difficulties are, what they are trying to communicate, the difficulties they are going through at a much deeper level. So then, the whole perspective, the whole paradigm of helping my child started changing. So rather than changing my own child, I just realized the person we need to change is myself. If I change myself, I can bring a very positive change in my child's life. And again, the whole definition, what is this change I'm looking for? Is this change is to change my child? Then I realized no, the change I'm looking for is not to change my child, but to help him to cope up in this world, which is very overwhelming for my child because of the way his nervous system is wired. So for me, the change which I wanted to bring was to bring quality of life, right? More sense of self, sense of competence, where he should feel good about himself. He should feel in his body. He should feel good about being in this body, which I realized over the time was such a difficulty, such a traumatic experience for our children. So, so how that shift happened over the time from changing the behavior to understanding the behavior as a communication. So, it really led me to learn more and more about it. That why this world is so difficult for them to survive. So, then I definitely came to know much more like structured practices of interventions, like more frame of references, which are definitely like research oriented, researched by many scientists, doctors, and so that is what is my journey so far. So what I would say, the biggest change which I think I have brought into my life is rejecting the behavior based philosophy and accepting the relationship based philosophy, where the importance is building the relationship between my child. And the relationship which I am talking about is not the bond between a parent or a child. Of course, if I have given birth to my child, he is the most important person to me, and my love is the most. I mean, any parent will love their child the most, but that is not the relationship I'm talking about. The relationship here is, how can I make my child feel safe? So the whole relationship paradigm is, how can we make our children feel safe in this world and into their bodies?
So thank you so much, Minnie. I wanted to interject a little bit. So Minnie was one of the, one of the only RDI consultants, like we call the RDI, at the beginning. It's a relationship dynamic intelligence. Like, is that
Relationship development, relationship development
development?
intervention.
Yeah. So the basis was what I got from her when she was explaining me was that the relationships are very dynamic, and how do you empower the child and the family to develop that intelligence that you don't have to teach them? Do this, do this, do this. The child starts to come up with their own, or develops their own intelligence and starts to come up with solutions, which earlier paradigm or still conventional paradigm is to tell them what to do. So, which
Yes.
can be very empowering for the child. And we are basic at some level kind of insulting the intelligence that they do not know. So, could we provide them an environment where they could grow on their own, and the speech, which was like such a important part of the thing, could we shift from just the talking to communication? So at so many levels, when communication is beyond words, is something that it tried to develop. So that is what it focused so many on so many other things about co-regulating with the things. So a little bit for people who don't know about what this RDI is, so that they can find the therapist and
Right.
go beyond the conventional therapies and look for that. And I know there are many which you mentioned about at a micro level, a lot of taking care of the micronutrition and the gut health, and so many other modalities are there. So, but because you are a pro in RDI, this is something just through this platform for the parents to know that all is not lost and there is so much hope. Because I don't think a lot of people have heard about it. Like I heard through her, but I like to share it in case people would like to explore.
Sure.
Absolutely. And also just saying, the fact that you're not looking to make them wrong, right, is
Yes.
such a gift for everyone, not only parents, but let's say for parents, so that you're not looking to define what's wrong about your child, but looking to see what is their, like we say, their unique brand of magic, what is their unique approach. And so you're connecting with them in a way that does not make them feel wrong. And they start showing you some ways of communicating with people, no matter how those people show up. And you're connected with yourself, you're connected with them, and actually gifting something to others in their communication with everyone, right? I love that
Yeah.
what you were saying, Minnie, about, defining it, putting up walls and barriers, making them wrong, trying to correct it, but seeing the various approaches that you can have and what shows up for you that is actually delightful and funny sometimes, that you are enjoying, and how much does that relax you, your body, and also open up and relax them and their body. I just love the approach.
Yes. So before I tell about RDI, I would like to bring little bit some of my perspective on what Cass says. So when autism treatment started decades back, so the way this treatment paradigm was developing, that okay, my child is diagnosed with autism and there are certain goals, say social engagement goals. Say for example, let's take an example, eye contact. So as we know that the eye contact in children with autism is poor. So what the entire paradigm is, I will take my child to a therapy center, send him inside the therapy center, and therapists will work on my child or with my child. I actually do not like to use the word on my child, but actually the way it happens is people work on the children, right? It's not about people work with the children. So my approach is to work with the children. So therapists will work on the child, and in few days, after X days, the eye contact is developed. So what this whole paradigm is, that when a child is born with a neurodivergence, the entire onus is shifted on the child with neurodivergence to get changed, right? So a child who's already born with vulnerabilities and difficulties and disabilities. So the entire treatment paradigm is that we have to change the child to fit into this world, right? It should be other way around. The We have to change to understand their difference and creating a environment for them where they find it easy uh, to cope up according to the way they're wired. So they don't mask. Lot of people with autism, those who are whose functional levels are like are at a high level, like they can talk or they can read, write, right? But still they have difficulties in forming relationships. So what they do, they really try to mask their symptoms, because the whole paradigm is created like that the people with neurodivergence have to change to survive, right? So what happens with relationship based models, this is one thing that we need to change, that no, we as a parent or we as the community or the caregivers have to start bringing that change in ourselves. So I think RDI is definitely an invitation and a possibility to bring that paradigm into existence. First thing, it is quite based on the latest researches in the neuroscience. It is based on the theory of secured attachment and neuroplasticity. And the entire beginning of RDI process is working on co-regulation. So it is co-regulation is work of a very famous psychologist, Dr. Ellen Fogel, right? So so when an infant develops, so co-regulation, as the word explains, it's regulation between two people. So means I'm not talking about self-regulation. So co-regulation means that I learn about me, I learn about my body, I learn about my emotions through others. So that's how an infant develop. An infant right now who does not have much motor movements, right, does not have a language, has not developed any memories. I mean, memory is still developing. Even visual sense is still developing. All the sensory system is still developing, right? So how am I learning for my future? Through co-regulation. So I learn about my body, about my being. So the very first thing in co-regulation is the co-regulated individuals, they know that this is me and this is you, this is my body, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings, these are my emotions, and that is your body, your physical space, your thoughts, your emotions. And this is very difficult with children with autism. They do not have a boundary that this thought is mine or yours.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yes.
Yes, that right brain, left brain thing, the separation. No, no. And that's a gift, right? So this really, keep going. I'm just saying that the gift that leaving a business to open this up and invite the world to see it in a different way actually creates some new space for the future because the future is changing. Yeah.
Yes. So co-regulation is that first foundation. It's a very important developmental foundation. I'm using the word foundation because it's really a foundation which gives the platform for other areas of development to happen. So in RDI, we never work on skills. We work on six main important foundations. First thing, it's a parent empowerment program. So we work on the parents, and parents through their naturalistic engagement stimulate the children through guiding relationship. So what is the main principle of RDI is to form that guiding relationship where where by being us ourselves we are able to go back to our role as a parent. So now let us, one more thing I want to bring it here is parenting actually is not a role, it's a relationship. See, teaching is a role because in teaching, if I'm a teacher in a school, I have some goals to be met and I do not go beyond it. So I know I have to finish my syllabus and the curriculum so that my child can pass the exam and move to the next grade. That is my role. As a doctor, I play a role. A child comes to me or any person comes to me. So in that limited scope, I have to treat that person, right? And beyond it, it's not my job. My only job is to treat this person for the particular disease that person has come to me. So that is a role, a specific role. Parenting is not a role, it's a relationship, a very pervasive woven relationship where we are not playing a role. We are part of our children, and for their well-being, in good or bad, forever, even after we die. So we make sure, right, that even after we die our children are taken care of. So that is the level of relationship it is. So how, and if that relationship is disrupted because my child is born with the vulnerabilities where he cannot see my invitation to him to develop, so this whole relationship gets disrupted. So what happens, I am trying to engage with the child who's very passive. So what happens, there is no other option for me but to change myself and become very instructional, keep teaching whole day, right, start using those unnatural teaching ways, like sit with the flashcards and teach words. This is what, first learn this, learn this, learn this, sit on the tabletop forever, and then teach writing, teach reading, teach puzzles. So what happens, I lose that role completely. Sorry, not role, I lose that relationship completely. And I move into the shoes of my child. And my child, rather than living his childhood subjects to, like, he's going to 10th and the goals come home also, and the parent are working, working on speech, working on say puzzles or writing or play skills. So the whole the whole thing becomes very mechanic, not only for children, for parents also. So that's where the whole mental health issues start, the stress starts, and then so this is where, so RDI is not about teaching any skill, it's all about 6 developmental foundations. The very first is co-regulation, where I become the window to this world for my child. So my child starts looking at this world through me, right? So that relationship he needs to develop. And then referencing. So referencing means that my child, whenever my child feels unsafe in this world, he should be able to refer to me to take a decision on what he should do next to feel safe. So, in referencing, it is the interpretation of the non-verbal communication which is more important than verbal communication. Referencing does not happen through verbal communication. It's rest of the other way of communication. My non-verbal communication, my micro expressions, the tone, the prosody, the body language, everything other than speech. So, how do I learn to decode them? Because non-verbal communication becomes the foundation of verbal communication in the child development scheme also. So, whenever a child is diagnosed with a communication disorder, the therapy starts from verbal communication. But what about the foundation of non-verbal communication, which is required for verbal communication to come? That nobody looks at. Nobody does that.
Up until now.
Up until
Up
Yes.
until now. My Delhi phrase. Up until now. Exactly. Yes.
Yes. So that is like, yeah. So then the third foundation is, so when we are working a lot on developing speech and language for the children, so what we end up doing, we end up doing working a lot on need based communication, instrumental communication. So children, they want something and they are able to tell them. But communication is not just need based, it is much more than that, which we call it as experience sharing. I should be able to share my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my viewpoints, my point of views to someone else and be soothed, valued, understood, and accepted. That is communication. And nobody is willing to offer that to individuals with autism. So that is the third foundation we work on. Then episodic memory means if the memories from the past are positive and they made me feel valued and made me feel competent, that there's a higher chance that I will be able to retrieve my learnings from that memory, bring it to the forefront, and use it in my present. Because the hippocampus, my memory systems, it stores a memory only if it's positive. And hippocampus is so diffused and so damaged in children with autism. So episodic memory means, so I when I engage with my child, I create an environment which is much more nurturing, where my child feels a sense of competence, that he is not stupid. He should feel that success all the time, so that he stores those memories in a much more positive way, so that tomorrow he can use those memories in the future to live his life. Because see, life throws challenges every day and you need to problem solve at every single day. So that episodic memories. And so when and
So
then
just
dynamic.
just to tell the audience, hippocampus, it's a part of the brain she's talking about, like not the animal. So where the memory part, where these memories are stored, a part of the brain is called hippocampus, where they can retrieve the positive memories. Just, I mean, to give make it more,
So I also
simple.
want to add here, it's part of the limbic brain, means emotional brain. So let us understand memories are so connected to emotions. So if our emotional encounter with our individuals or their emotional encounter with us is not positive, their memory system is going to be affected. And that's the reason the relationship based models are even more important. Okay.
And
And
how
then,
many
of
of us have
course,
had
yeah,
that?
then
How many of us have had that, in our lives in the past before they were identifying and describing as autism certain things, right? So this is totally a contribution to people who have been living their lives in a very different way beyond childhood. Yeah.
yes. And then dynamic intelligence. So the way the brains of our children are, uh, their rote memory systems are very, I would say, much more powerful. So their learning capacities are very high, but their dynamic intelligence is very affected because They know the facts, but they are not able to apply that knowledge and those facts in the context. So see, all the facts, language, linearity, logic, it is the function of the left brain. But the relationships, right, means the understanding the context, why certain thing needs to be done. All this is part of my right brain. So left and the right brain have to work together. So if I only work on the left brain, if it means if I just keep on teaching memorized facts, or say reading or numbers, so it gets stored. I learn about it, how to do it, but I still do not learn when to apply and how to apply, how much to apply, because the context, understanding the context is very important, which is part of my relational brain. And other thing is that the connection to from the cortex to limbic system, I mean from my higher function brain, my thinking brain, to my emotional brain, happens through the right brain, not through the left brain. So if someone is dysregulated, I can never use language to soothe the person. Only a relationship can soothe the person, which could be a smile, a hug, or just that I'm present, I'm there for you, right? That,
Like I heard, connect before you correct. So if
yes,
there's
holding
something,
space. What we call as holding space for someone else, right? So I think these are the whole some of the points the relationship model brings. That's what
I
like I.
totally love this thing for a few reasons. One of the things is that it is a very inclusive model in
Mm-hmm.
the sense that it includes the family. It's not
Right.
excluding only the child that there is a problem, fix him or her, and it the onus or the responsibility, the parents have to also start taking to understand that if they are looking for a change, then their engagement is very very important. If
Vital.
the
Yes.
flower or the yeah, the plant has to require some nourishment, it comes from the environment, and you cannot just keep correcting the plant and say something
Right.
is wrong. Yeah, so that's if you can give those. I remember the first time I met Minnie, so she was writing on the paper about this. So I remember she told me emotion, co-regulation, uh, reciprocity, emotional, the flexibility,
Emotional
of
regulation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the 5 points, I was just like kind of noting it down. The 5 points about those things. What are the five salient points which RDI touches? Relation, developmental intervention.
Relationship development intervention. Yeah.
So
Co-regulation,
co-regulation.
because emotional regulation and emotional reciprocity. So referencing, experience sharing, episodic memory, dynamic intelligence, and then leading to self-regulation, leading to quality of life.
So I think we'll somewhere put it down, the salient points. And
Yes.
if somebody would like to kind of get get to you, we will also share where they can find you and know more about that in case they're looking for something more than the usual conventional thing, right?
Yes. So
So yeah. So please.
no, no. So what I want to say here is that conventional things are also important, but the life should not be just about therapies. We have to understand why are we doing the therapies at the first place, so that we are able to support my child's life, to have a quality of life and to be more independent. So what happens, our focus goes away from that, and we just make our life about the therapy goals and the therapies we want to do. It is required, that support is required, but more than that, forming that relationship is very important. So one question I always ask whenever I start working with a family, that what is your vision for your child after 20 years? Forget about today, but where do you see yourself and your child after 20 years? And the one word, the one answer which everybody have always said, that Of course, every family says so many things, but that one word or that one requirement which goes true for every family is independence. That I want my child to be independent. And then I ask them, what is the definition of independence? And then how they realize that independence is not about just having skills. Because for example, yesterday itself we were seeing a video. So this child, he was pouring water into the plants. So the skill was there, but he was not able to move from one plant to other. So he was just keeping on pouring the water in the same plant. Now every time he needed to move to plant to water the other plant, he needed to be cued. He needed to be instructed, because that's how he has learned that someone will instruct me, and then only I can take the action. We never created an environment for him to observe on his own, study his environment, and make a decision on his own, and take a responsibility for this task to carry on. So independence is not about just having skills. It is important, but independence is about the thinking, right? Breaking down my environment. And that is what we do in RDI. So
Awesome.
then I asked my parents. So once then when I help them with the definition of independence, of course the new perspective starts setting in. And then I asked them, you want that to happen 20 years down the line, what are you doing today for that to happen? And then
That's it.
that's where, yeah, we want that to happen, but what we are doing today is absolutely different, absolutely opposite. And whenever I ask my families to define their definition of independence or to write down, nobody actually ever says speech and language. But contrarily, everybody is working on developing speech and language.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
You know,
So look at how much contradiction we are living in, that we envision something else, but what we are doing today is something else. That what we are doing today is never going to take us there.
so, if
So
I draw a corollary or a parallel in the medical world, like you said, conventional therapies are important. They are, but it's
yes,
about integrating other
yes,
possibilities into the whole thing. So it's
yes,
like the medical world for me. So
mm,
is the medical science or the conventional science not important? Of course, it is important. There are some areas where it is way ahead. However, if the lifestyle diseases currently we are encountering, it won't take us very far. We all know that as doctors, we know that. So integrating the mind body approach,
yes,
that disconnect that has had come, reconnecting that is going to take us far. So I have a
yeah.
question from a viewer. Can I take it with you?
Sure. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
please.
so he has asked, what is the message to people who are not parents, but in like parents of a person or child on spectrum, but in regular touch with children regular touch with parents who have children on the spectrum. How should they shape their approach to the different kids, like, or not so normal, like people
Sure.
call it? Yeah.
Like first, I admire this question, because this is so much of I myself not a sufferer or having a child with autism, but I see other families having a child with autism. So that whole attitude itself is so admiring. I mean, I really love the question. So what I suggest here is that understanding the challenges a person goes through, and because of it, the challenges family goes through is very important. So if I can quickly tell you, the autism is, if I really have to define it, it's all about a different sensory processing. So sensory processing is so affected. If I can just take 2 minutes, every input coming to my body is sensory, every input. So there are mainly 8 senses, right? 5 senses we know: vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. We know these 5 senses. Other than that, there are two more senses, which is like hidden senses: vestibular and proprioceptive. Vestibular senses, so be able to understand the position of my body to maintain balance so that I don't fall down. And balance is such an important thing for us. And then proprioception, where I have my own body's intelligence, my body awareness. I know my body and I can use my body without using my eyes. I'm really trying to explain it in a very, very simple terms. I'm not even going technical. Eighth sense is interoception. So these seven senses are exteroception, coming from the external world. Eighth sense is interoception. Interoception is all the information about my body coming from inside, like my hunger, right, or my tiredness, or feeling low, even emotional, all the emotions which I felt is interoceptive. Feeling of safety, right, or a thirsty feeling of thirsty, or feeling of pain, or say I want to go to toilet. So all these are the signals which my body is sending it to me. So when I think about it, that I am not able to interpret these senses. And so in autism, so of course I'm just one word, I say sensory modulation. So modulation means that, because see, the world is throwing data, the sensory data, like a flood. But what my brain does, it processes it, and whatever is not required, it filters it, and whatever is required, it becomes an outcome. And then outcome is always motor in nature. So whatever I need to do is motor. So when I'm talking, it's a motor act, right? Even if I'm blinking, it's a motor act. Even if I'm breathing, it's a motor act. Or I move, if I move any part of my body, it's a motor act. So it requires a movement. It requires to know my body and do something with my body and achieve something. So every input is sensory, every output is motor. Now think about it. This is the challenge in children with autism. So when the modulation, sensory modulation is affected, so either I seek a lot or I avoid a lot. So because I'm not able to modulate the information which is coming to me, so I'm not able to filter it, I'm not able to, right? So what happens, either it is coming too much for me, so I avoid because it's so overwhelming for my brain to process it, or I'm getting too little, I'm not getting enough for my body to function. So what I do, I move a lot, and then I get a diagnosis of ADHD. Try to understand, right? So sometimes I'm moving a lot, when a child is really very hyperactive, either either the child is receiving too much of information, that's the reason he's moving a lot, or the child is getting too little information, that's the reason he's moving a lot. Now look at the the irony of this. So we really have to understand our children better, that if my child is moving a lot, or say stimming a lot, so why my child is doing it. As I go back to my previous words again, every behavior is a communication. What my child is trying to communicate here, is my child very anxious, or my child, like, some just now something happened and my child is trying to cope with it, or my child needs to use his body for something and is trying to feel his body. That's the reason he's doing those rhythmic actions, what we call as self-stimulatory behaviors. But those are the rhythmic actions he requires, because the entire body needs rhythm. Rhythm is the input to cerebellum, which the output becomes the motor coordination and motor planning. As I said, every outcome is motor. So if I'm not able, and rhythm is very much affected in individuals with autism, the the whole decoding of rhythm is very difficult for them. That's the reason you see those stereotypical actions. So again, I come back to the question which was asked. So that what can we do to support the child? So I would say very first thing is that stop judging the children's stereotypical behaviors and have a true acceptance. So do not judge them. Have true acceptance of their actions, because please try to understand that is the only way they can cope up in this such a sensory heavy world. Our world is very sensory, and they are born with a very fragile nervous system where they are not able to integrate the sensory information coming from so many different senses at the same time. So that understanding itself becomes an invitation to understand the real challenges of a child. And then after that, the journey is automatic. Then you can really say that what the family might be needing the support the in my opinion, the most support a family requires is to have that one friend for a child. That's all. Someone who can truly accept a child and be a friend to that child at least once or twice in a week. Play with him, go for a walk, or just watch a movie together. if something like that also can be done with the families, because please, I really want to bring it in here. Having a child with severe difficulties is quite traumatic for the family. So what happens, though they don't want, but the isolation automatically happens, because the overwhelm and the amount of support required for the child to be given by the parents takes their entire day. I mean, it really consumes them, so they do not have much time and energy for other things to be done, but they crave for it. So what if that social acceptance can be given to entire family, not just the child, and include them? Of course, not every day, I'm not saying, but include them once in a while, right? And provide that friendship, that support. That itself is a, is a game changer. So support emerges from the true acceptance. True acceptance emerges from the understanding.
Absolutely.
Understanding, yeah, understanding the difficulties and the differences our children are having, or the different differences they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the invitation for all of us to see things from a different perspective is really
Yes.
a
Yeah.
gift. Is really a gift. I remember, several times in different countries around the world when parents were saying to me, "Oh, my kid has autism or ADD, ADHD. They never look at people. They won't even come out, right?" And so, like you were saying, communicating not verbally, but energetically, or not right, left brain, not putting up, just connecting with myself and
Hmm.
then connecting with them. The parents would stop talking and they would have their mouth open. "I can't believe they're here, present. They never come with people that they don't
Yeah.
know." Or, "I can't believe they're looking at you in your eyes," and just a smile, and the warmth that we can be and receive, right, from these amazing X-Men, brilliant
True.
ex-women children.
Yes. Yes. So
So
yes,
thank
my
you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for like putting it together for everybody who's looking to empower parents who are not aware about these things that do not exist. You do not have to have, but you will always know someone in your family or your friend circle or your relation who would be having these challenges. So it would be really a contribution for them, if they could share this information and know that there are so many possibilities available now, and it's not something like a morbid picture which used to be many years ago.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
now though it's like, quickly, like primitive reflex integration, functional medicine, oral placement therapy, sensory motor approach to feeding and speech. I'm just like, gestalt language processing, I'm just naming a few, I'm not even explaining them, right? Physiotherapy, working on the posture, gait, balance, coordination, right? So art based expressive therapy, right? Play based therapy. So there's so many, pet therapy, right? So there is like dog therapy, and then the horse therapy. So there's so many things, swimming, aquatic therapy. There's so many ways to help our children to integrate sensorily.
Yes, there's so much more that unites us than separates us, right? It's so interesting
Right,
she talks about the
right, yes.
7 steps.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally.
If people would like to find you, where can they find you?
So my webpage is www.playstreet.in. So PLAYSTREET.in. And of course, we are everywhere on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel with a good subscriber. We are on Telegram, where we support parents by bringing the information on the latest researches and treatments. So these are the places. And the email ID is very simple: info@playstreet.in, or just write to me, mini@playstreet.in.
Lovely,
Right, and
lovely,
I'm on
lovely.
every social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, the only place I'm not in is Instagram, but PlayStreet is there on Instagram. I am not there on Instagram.
Up until now. Up until
up
now,
until
we might get, we might get you.
Yes, yes. I think like
Absolutely.
so being everywhere on social media is like then I just could not prioritize Instagram yet up until now.
Yes, exactly. Up until now.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank
Hmm.
you so much for this, Dr. Shubra. Uh, we,
Thank you,
it's
Kaz. Thank you
wonderful.
for providing this platform. And what else is possible now, I wonder?
Yeah,
Yes, beyond our
yeah,
wildest imaginations. Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. And please
Thank
connect with
you.
yourself, connect with the kids, and see what the gift is that they can be for us, that we can be and receive also for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, as the month goes by, we will come up with how much these kids are so energetic. Energetic, not in the terms of just the energy part, but the communication is very energetic. So they go beyond the words. But because they are not using words, we think they have regressed, but they do not require the words so much. So, are we willing to learn their language of communication? And maybe we will talk about 7 steps, how we can connect with them and reconnect with them, and other modalities, as the weeks go by. And we will keep you posted about that. But in the physical world, what is available, I think I have not known yet a person. Besides Mimi, who has like so much of information and uh, the intention to genuinely empower parents. And I remember when we were in the class together, she's coming up with a program just to empower parents, because if parents who provide the environment are empowered, the child definitely will be.
Yes,
So
that's
it doesn't work the other way around.
yes. Oh, thank you for bringing it up. Yeah. So I have created a platform called I Am Because We Are. So this is the whole idea. So as I said, co-regulation is I know about myself through you. So I am because we are. So in this platform, I have curated lots of courses, and this is a work in progress. I mean, it will keep on happening. So there are parent empowerment training. There's a course on sensory integration. There's a course on co-regulation. So far, these courses are done. We are coming up with courses. I mean, we will be keep on developing. So courses on motor development, primitive reflexes, courses on speech and feeding. So speech and feeding in the right way, communication using alternative and augmentative communication modalities, and of course, so lot of so all the services which parent might require, but with the relationship as the backbone. So
So
relationship
she's
part is
a,
very important.
yeah,
Yes,
she's a uniting factor for all that. So
yeah.
please find
Awesome.
her. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
And you, so that you can dance with the riches of your life with thanks to her. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
Thank
was
you,
such
ladies.
a
Pleasure,
it was such a
pleasure.
good
And Dr. Schubert,
conversation.
we will definitely do some more.
And
Awesome.
thank you everybody for joining, and whoever would be watching in future. Thank you for having us in your space.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.